Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to give an introduction to Program 5, which is our last assignment for this course. This is a very exciting program because this is your first assignment where you will design and implement a solution entirely from scratch. So in previous assignments we have always been provided with a Python file that you download and then you make some edits to. Maybe you fill in a missing function, add some code, but in this assignment you will start with your very own blank Python file and build up your solution from there. So the idea in this program is that you will be looking at a specific data set about airline delays and cancellations at specific airports. You will use pandas to load in this data, to manipulate it, to explore the data and see what sort of interesting trends you might be able to visualize. And then you'll use Matplotlib to create two separate visualizations, and you'll be sure to include a comment in the Python file that you turn in that actually explains two specific insights that you could get from the visualization. So the dataset that we'll use for this assignment is called airlines, and if we open this link up, we go to the website explaining what the columns are, and we can download the file here. And so if you just scroll through these descriptions, you see that this data set is about airports and days, including the date, the month, the year, and then it includes a bunch of statistics about delays due to, say, security, due to weather, and then also how many flights were on time, and information about canceled flights. So you can use this data set to look at total volume of flight per airport, total volume of flight per day. I'm sure that you will think of many interesting things to visualize. I have already downloaded this data set and I have it open in Excel just so we can see it. And we see, just as we saw on the website, we have columns like airport code, airport name, what is the month? Oh, it's the 6th month of the year. It was June. Oh, I guess this actually might be by month. I might have said by day, but it looks like it's actually by month and year. And then we get all these statistics, and we can see that there are a whole lot of rows in this data set, and maybe we can just see it looks like it started at 2003 and we're going all the way here. We're about halfway through the file and we're already in 2009. So there are a lot of years, but you can look into that as you're working on the assignment. So let's go back to the program description. So we're supposed to use this airline CSV. We need to use the pandas library and Matplotlib to create two visualizations. You may, if you choose, to generate predictions using the sklearn machine learning package, but since this was totally optional material for this course, you do not need to do this if you are not interested. And you should call plt.savefig and the output name to save your plots. And so I'm just going to open up a Python file and just show you how I would make a really rough start on this assignment, just taking a look at the grading. So I would first create a new file, and I'm going to save this to start off as my first name, last name, program 5. We can just double check. First name dash last name dash program 5. You're probably all experts at this by now. And it looks like maybe these are supposed to be capitalized. And then I should save this wherever I have saved my airlines.csv file, which for me is in my CSCI 127 folder. So I'm going to save this. And then let's look at what we're graded on. So we need to use pandas, and that's what, so in order to use pandas, what am I going to need to do? I'm going to need to import pandas as PD, and I'm also going to need to use matplotlib, right? And in particular, we have learned that we use the matplotlib.pyplot part of matplotlib, and we have been aliasing that as PLT. So the first thing I would do is just go ahead and import those, make sure that runs. Then I would define a main function which will execute our program and then call it, just because this is a conventional way to organize our programs that we've been practicing in this class. Now let's look back at the grading. So we need to make sure that we create 2 visualizations. I would say these 2 parts of the grading are getting at that. Each one needs to be of a different type. One could be a bar chart and the other could be a line chart. It's just one idea, but you can think of whatever you think will be interesting. I encourage you to look through the Matplotlib documentation for inspiration, because there's a lot of stuff there that we didn't cover, but could be really interesting to try to get working for this assignment. And we need to make sure that these visualizations are saved in the same directory as our Python file, and we need to call them visualization 1 and visualization 2. So let's just add some functions that will create the visualizations. I'm going to call my first one create viz1, and I'm going to have this take in the file name. And for now, I'm not going to do anything in here. I'm also going to have create viz2. This will also take in a file name. And when I call these, what file name do I need to use? Well, it tells me in order to get all these points, I need to use visualization 1 for my first visualization, and I need to use visualization 2, right? Now, let's go ahead and run this, make sure we haven't introduced any bugs. And so you probably will also pass in some data into these functions, but I just like to go through the grading and make sure that I'm not missing any points for any silly reasons, like not naming my files the right thing, right? So maybe I'll put some comments. Create first visualization. Make sure that all aspects are clearly labeled. So that's things like axes, your x-axis, your y-axis. You need a title. And if there's anything else that you want to highlight in your visualization. Next, it says that we get 15 points for having the first visualization contain at least 2 insights that are explained carefully in a comment at the top of your program. And so what this means is that, let's say this visualization 1 happened to be that same population graph of Montana's population that is shown in this video. So that showed that the population slowed in the 1920s to the 1940s. And we said that this may have been due to drought and depression. And so what you need to do at the top of your program is have a comment about visualization 1, something like, in visualization 1, we see that, and you need not just 1 but 2 insights. We also see that. And then, so you get 15 points for writing about your first visualization, and you get 15 points for writing about your second visualization. In visualization 2, we see that. We also see that. And so the idea here is you would fill in your insight here and here about visualization 1, and you would fill in your insight about visualization 2 here. I'm just going to put this comment in visualization 2 as well. And we get 15 points for our second comment about visualization 2. And then finally, we get 10 points for writing nice comments, for writing code that is easy to understand, that does not contain any unnecessary, maybe unreachable code, or just complex ways of doing things that could be done more simply. And so this is the shell of a program that I would create. What else are we going to need to do in main? Well, we're going to need to load the data. And how do we do that? Well, maybe we call it data, and we use pd.read CSV. And now we need to put in what is the name of that file. Well, it should be saved as airlines.csv, I believe. And maybe we start off by printing data.head, right? Let's just look at the first few columns, first few rows of this data set. And it looks like we are successfully reading in the data. It has 24 columns. If we, say, wanted to know what the shape of the data was, so that's going to tell us how many rows and columns there are. We see that there are 4,408 rows, and we already knew there were 24 columns. Now, I would probably pass in data to create viz, but you could also maybe pass in just a column of your data and do some data processing out here. However you wanted to do it. This is your program, so you can make it however you like. And so that is where I will leave you. If you get stuck, please ask early rather than struggling for a long time. especially using these packages, there are just a lot of little syntax things that it can be hard to look up. So good luck, and I really look forward to seeing the visualizations that you create. Thanks, everyone.